As I'm sure you have heard by now, but I obviously must discuss, Donald Trump had his Mar-a-Lago residence raided by the FBI yesterday in the early hours of the morning. Going into the morning, he was having his Mar-a-Lago residence raided. This is huge. This is historic, unprecedented, and it indicates that a serious investigation is going on into him. To be clear, it looks like from all of our early understanding about this situation that this is in regard to his taking of classified documents from the White House to Mar-a-Lago and something involved in that. That's what people are expecting right now. The FBI hasn't specifically confirmed what the purpose of the raid was, but that is the prediction. So that is not necessarily, or it isn't at all, indicating that a massive step forward is being taken in the investigation into Trump for trying to overturn the 2020 election, which I think is the most important thing to be looking into as far as Donald Trump goes, and the most important thing to hold him accountable for. But it still is huge. It still is historic, and hopefully holding him accountable for something that he did wrong. But obviously lots of information is forthcoming. Let's quickly just read a little bit about this from NPR. Trump says FBI agents raided his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. Former President Donald Trump said on Monday that FBI agents had searched his Mar-a-Lago club and residence in Palm Beach, Florida, and opened his safe. The FBI and Department of Justice declined to comment, although Eric Trump said Monday night that he was told the raid was related to the possible mishandling of government secrets the Justice Department is known to be investigating after the National Archives retrieved White House records from Mar-a-Lago. So again, as I had mentioned, Donald Trump took classified documents that obviously hold government secrets, classified things, and handled them improperly, brought them to Mar-a-Lago, possibly because he doesn't want the contents of those particular documents to be come across, seen later on. That's just my speculation. Why else would he take a particular batch? I don't know. Or it could just be negligence, but we'll let the investigation figure that out. The purpose of the raid was, from what they said, was because the National Archives wanted to corroborate whether or not Donald Trump had any documents in his possession, the former president's son told Fox News. So that's Eric Trump's perspective. Reading a little bit further from Newsweek, allies of Donald Trump, and this is narrowing into the reaction we've seen from right-wing media, which has just been absolutely crazy. We did a live stream last night where we watched all this as it was breaking and discussed, and it was really crazy. But we were also kind of tuning into right-wing media a lot to see how they were responding to this. And it was really sad because it was just very dishonest and very kind of trying to cover for Trump the entire time. And the thing I kept pointing out, which I think everyone would notice if they watched Fox News' coverage or Newsmax's coverage of these events, is that they were clearly trying to distract their viewers from the particular investigation and event that was happening right then and there. There was so much discussion about, well, what about Hunter Biden? And well, what about Joe Biden? And what about Hillary Clinton? And what I kept saying on my stream was, listen, if you want to look into those people for something, if you think Hunter Biden did something, I have no stake in Hunter Biden. If he gets investigated, gets prosecuted for something that he did wrong, okay, let it happen. Obviously, get justice if he did something wrong. I have no need to sit here and try to defend any of the people you just listed off if they did something wrong. If you can prove they did something wrong, if the Justice Department can, then absolutely, I have no problem them being investigated. Now, I think a lot of the stuff they'll point to is kind of silly, but if there is something serious, go for it. But that has nothing to do with what we're looking at today. We're looking at a former president having his home raided. The FBI doesn't do that willy-nilly. So this absolutely is a sign, whether you want to say it or not, that they have evidence, they have significant reason to be raiding his home. Because as y'all understand, if you're going to raid someone's residence, you do have to get a warrant. So the FBI would have had to go in front of a judge, explain their probable cause, explain why they felt it was justified to raid Donald Trump's residence. And you can't just get that willy-nilly. You can't just do that willy-nilly. They're only going to do it if they feel like there's good enough reason to, and there's significant enough evidence and damage that was done by Donald Trump that needs to be investigated and he needs to be held accountable for. So pretending like, oh, this is just a politically motivated thing, or hey, how about we talk about Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton? I heard someone bring up Benghazi. What are we talking about? Let's focus on this. If you want to have a separate discussion about that, sure. Right now we're talking about this. Okay. So reading from Newsweek, allies of Donald Trump are likening the U.S. to a third world country and calling for the FBI and Justice Department to be dismantled in response to a raid on the former president's home. Trump on Monday evening confirmed the FBI agents had searched his residence on his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida. While the reason for the raid remains unclear, Trump denounced it as politically motivated in a lengthy statement. Trump's defenders swiftly took to social media to echo his claims. Looks like a typo there, maybe. His claims while attacking Attorney General Merrick Garland and federal law enforcement agencies. This is Lou Dobbs tweeting. The FBI and the DOJ have ruthlessly violated the Constitution and law in America. Joe Biden and Merrick Garland are no more than Marxist thugs, not public servants. They're an outrage against decency, judgment, a former president, and the American people. So that was Lou Dobbs from Fox News. In a statement posted to his Truth Social network, Trump said that the raid was part of a long history of being politically targeted by federal law enforcement. Trump described his home as under siege, raided, and occupied, despite what he said was his cooperation with government agencies. Trump said FBI agents even broke into my safe. And this was something we saw a lot last night while we were covering this live, was these right-wing networks would say a bunch of facts about what was going on in an outraged tone of voice, as if to give their audience reason to be upset without actually explaining why they should be upset. So they would say things like Trump's safe was even looked into in a really aggravated tone. And what I kept saying is, okay, but explain why that's bad. Is that something the FBI is not supposed to do? If they have a warrant to search all the contents of his home and there's a safe there, maybe he's holding particular things that are relevant to them in that safe. Why is it an outrage that the FBI looked in his safe? Or they said they went there without warning. They didn't even warn Trump. They were raiding his residence. And it's like, obviously, why are you saying that as if that's an outrage? Obviously, if you're investigating somebody and you want to go raid their home to get particular documentation or particular evidence, you're not going to warn them ahead of time that's what you're going to do. Otherwise, there's no point, because they could just destroy anything that might be incriminating or move things around. That's the most obvious thing in the world. So really, really silly. Looking here at another response, because it's just fascinating. Obviously, the biggest question that I had when this broke was, first, what are the details, and what specifically are they raiding his home for, which I think we're still waiting to get clear confirmation on. But obviously there's speculation. But then my second big question was, how is the right going to respond to this? So here is Mark Levin calling into Sean Hannity's show on Fox News, saying this is the worst attack on this republic in modern history. Let's take a look. I'm just going to show you kind of a couple examples of the right-wing news response to this big breaking news last night.
The FBI is corrupt. This guy Garland goes after parents. He goes after Republican state legislatures. He goes after states he disagrees with their abortion positions. He doesn't do a damn thing to protect the border, which is compelled by the Constitution. Nothing. So let's be clear. Newt is right. They're all right. This is the worst attack on this republic in modern history. Period.
Wow. Clear and profound response there from Mark Levin. And then we have just an unhinged response to this. You don't have to support the raid. You don't have to think that it was justified. But to say what this Newsmax correspondent says is insane. He alludes to the fact that maybe someone's going to try to, within the Democratic Party, I guess, or within the FBI, assassinate Donald Trump. Unbelievable. Let's take a look.
If you remember back in 2016, when right before he got elected, I was in Washington, D.C. I was at a couple different social events, and I heard people talking. They said the Democrats want this guy so bad that they wouldn't put assassination behind it. And I'm going to tell you something. They've tried impeachment. They've tried another impeachment. They've tried one investigation after another. This is about one thing. This is about stopping him from running in 2024. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not into conspiracies. I'm not into anti-government rhetoric. This is the first time in my lifetime that I would say I am deathly afraid for Donald Trump. I would not put assassination behind these people.
Oh my goodness. I mean, just I don't know what he's even trying to say, that the FBI is so politicized and controlled by the Democrats that they're going to try to kill Donald Trump. It makes no sense at all. and it's just kind of spewing lies to their audience. So huge news. Donald Trump had his home raided by the FBI. I'll say one more time, they would only do this if there was good reason to. They don't want to risk messing up a situation where they go after a former president like this. So unprecedented, huge, and I'm going to be super fascinated to see where this all goes, what are their next steps, and get confirmation on why they were looking at his Mar-a-Lago residence, which I do think it is related to the classified documents, but what specifically was so important within those documents, and what are they hoping to do as far as prosecution goes.